Hello, NAIFA Nation. My name's Emily Kevich. I am filling in for Suzanne Carwin today. I am the Senior Director of Membership at NAIFA, and we are getting your morning started off right with Marcus, our Wake Up Wednesdays with Marcus. So, Marcus, will turn the floor over to you.
Appreciate that. So, how's everybody doing? What I want to do, it's Patrick, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. And then we have Chef, is it Shepton, ma'am? What is your name, ma'am? Oh, you're on mute, ma'am. You're on mute. You have to click that. Yep, that was your video. Now you're
My
off mute.
my name's
Hi.
Jennifer.
How are you, Jennifer?
I'm tired. How are you?
I understand. Nice to see you. So I want to do something a little bit different. So, Jennifer, I'd like you to start off. Like, if you don't have any, I mean, I'm sure we all do, but what are some challenges that you've had since, since last month? I think you were on last month, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
was.
Yes,
I
that's what I
was.
thought. So Jennifer, talk a little bit about like, what's been going on good, since we had our last talk. Then what are some things you're trying to overcome? I want to try to make it, be more about you all. I mean, I have content, but want to really help people that are here move forward in their journey specifically.
Okay. Well, I've been working on doing a bit more networking in my professional community. My estate planning council shut down, and I'm trying to connect particularly to women in my field. And I signed up for a workshop on that at the end of the month. So that's a plus. On the minus side, I've been trying to talk to a brokerage about moving my business over, and they've failed to meet me on 3 different times for video calls. So I think to them taking over my business. And that's it.
So as far as, wanting to talk about the positives, so you're trying to get in front of like more women and trying to kind of, is that your avatar client that you're kind of looking for?
Yes, right now.
Perfect. And so if you want to get a little bit more specific, right, Jennifer, like what type of qualifications are you kind of looking for when it comes to wanting to work with women clients? Do you have a certain dollar amount? Do you have a certain demographic? Like what do you feel is like a good sweet spot for you when it comes to working with women?
Well, I guess I would just transfer what it is that I work with in the sphere of attorneys, accountants,
Oh.
elder law people,
Mm-hmm.
that there just aren't enough women in my business to connect with. So I thought I would focus on some women and then see if we can work together as well. Work together and work together.
Nice.
Jennifer, sorry, Marcus, where are you located, Jennifer?
Go ahead, Emma, go ahead.
Where are
I'm
you
in
located?
I'm in southeastern Mass, but I
Okay,
work all through New England and the West Coast. Yeah.
okay. Might have some people I can introduce you to.
Terrific.
So
Thank you.
this is good. Yeah. And so again, and so it sounds like you're trying to create a relationship, right, Jennifer, where they might work with you directly, but also at the same time become like a referral source where they can refer you
Correct.
clients and things like that. That's awesome. So I have a question for you, Jennifer. What do you think is the main thing that you must do in order to really build relationships with people that you're trying to be, like you said, go where they work with you directly, but also, build that relationship?
Well, I have been asked to instruct in some MCLEs, and I have also been asked to do some leadership work in my own insurance and financial. NAIFA. You guys all know NAIFA. I don't have to explain that. Sorry. So they've asked me to teach them Lily, and I could have them be guest speakers there. And so I'm basically establishing my own estate planning council, I guess it sounds like, as I say this out loud, for myself and my clients. Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. And then on the side, you talked about the negative, like you're trying to get a brokerage to move your business over to. What type of brokerage? Because the one you looked at was, like you said, thumbs down.
Yeah.
What type of a company or what type of people, are you trying to, look to maybe, connect with in that regard?
Well, what I wanted was the 3-level agency where it's life annuities and also my mutual fund business. And the life interview went well. The annuities people seem solid, and then just the equities products people were just, I don't even know, on Pacific Coast time, I guess. And I said, well, maybe that's why you don't have any agents here on the East Coast. Like perhaps that's why, we're not here for you because you're never on the other end of the phone. So yeah, I'm not definitely moving. It was just an exploration to see if I could. So NAIFA friends, don't talk
Oh,
about
no,
me moving.
no,
Okay.
no, we're
No,
fine.
not you, the
No,
others. Yes.
gotcha. I understand. Well, I felt what's important, right? Here's the thing, right, Jennifer? I would write this down for you. You need to build trust with who you all do business with. And trust comes from three main factors, which is going to be competency,
Right.
reliability,
Mm-hmm.
and people that have your best interests. Okay.
Yep.
So competency, it seems like they are somewhat competent in this, know the industry, but where they
Yeah.
fall off, which most people do, right, Jennifer, is reliability, like being there at the time that they say they're gonna be, right? And then also having your best interests. So what I would challenge you to do is you're moving forward, trying to find people to work with. You want to make sure they check all three of those boxes. Because if they don't check those boxes, then uh-oh, this is not going to work out for me. And I got to find people that can do that. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
And so,
Yep.
and then if people don't have your best interest, then all they are about is the transaction and not the relationship.
Correct.
Right. And that's everything. Okay.
Sure is.
Any
Mm-hmm.
questions there? Okay.
Yeah.
Patrick, hello, my friend. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Good morning.
Nice to meet you, sir. So, Patrick, give us a little bit about you, my friend. What's going on with you as far as, talk about what some things that went well, this month, in the last, let's say, month, and what are some things or some challenges you're trying to overcome?
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, Marcus, I didn't get the opportunity to be here with you guys last month. But I do group benefits, so mostly companies here in Florida under 300 employees. And so what I've been trying to work towards is I've got a pretty good LinkedIn following, but most of my LinkedIn people are folks like us in our industry, So what I'm trying to figure out a way is to sort of pivot that and figure out how to maybe use LinkedIn to get in front of more business owners and HR people. Florida's kind of a small business state. Most of the businesses here are under 50 lives. So trying to figure out a way to kind of get in front of more business owners and people that make the employee benefits decisions. And so just been noodling on that and trying to figure out what the plan and then maybe take action on the plan.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. So on the good side, it sounds like you've got a nice following, you're putting out content, and people recognize and know you. Am I saying that correct?
I would agree with that, yes, at least in our space.
Correct. Awesome. And so my question for you is, right, you're trying to now pivot, right? Am I correct in saying that, Pat? You're trying to pivot to that. Okay, Pat, I'm sorry. So, Patrick, I want you, everybody can write this down, okay? Pivot, okay? I have an acronym for that. So P is poised, okay? So here's the thing, right, Patrick? If I was to look at some of your content, right, and who you are and what you're about, would you think I would be able to pick up that you're very poised, very confident, very cool under pressure, and somebody that if I'm struggling, with my finances or, a plan, whatever, that I could come to you and you have a cool, calm demeanor, and even better yet, Patrick, you can live by this saying that you're cognitive, not emotional when it comes to your work?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it from that perspective. I think most of mine is probably a little bit more uh, fun or lighthearted, and maybe from the standpoint of a business owner, establishing that trust, and to your point that that poise, maybe that is something to chew on, and see if that might, because you're right. If they don't trust you, they're not going to take the first step anyway.
Correct. And so you want to always remain very, you want to come across very calm. So for example, I just had a phone. I was like coming to the event. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I might be late because there was like traffic. I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to get to back home and I'm excited about NAIFA, but da 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 da. And so I had to call the guy at 8 o'clock, and I thought it was like a quick 5-10 minute call. And I had to remain cool and confident and let him do it because he loves football. I'm a former NFL athlete. For about 25 minutes, he just talked all football. Like he went to Georgia. Yeah, I was just like, listen, and he's great. I mean, I was listening to him talk all right, but then I remained calm. And what happened is he could tell that I was letting him have his fun. And then at that point, I then got into the conversation with him about what I can do. And then he said, Marques, thank you so much for letting me fanboy, to have a call with you. But like now I'm going to help you. I'm going to introduce you to Keystone and look at you try to get on their main stage as a keynote speaker. And I feel that you could bring a lot of value to them. And I'm on that board. So I remained calm, right? And so that's the P. The I is inspiring. Okay. Is your content, is what you are putting out, is it elevating people to the next level? Are people saying, wow, what Patrick is talking about absolutely can tell me that when I'm down or I'm struggling, everybody, we all hear the same thing right now, right? Oh, I want to buy, but the election, I don't know what's happening. And, is it going to be Biden? Is it going to be Trump? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, we hear all this stuff, right? So people right now are a little bit more gun shy, but they need to hear from you and your content inspiring messages, words, phrases that say, wow, if I work with Patrick, he's going to elevate me, not just in my finances or my insurance perspective, but he'll elevate me in my personal life in general. So what are your thoughts? Would you say, Patrick, that the content you put out has some sort of inspirational or inspiring kind of tone to it?
No, but it wouldn't be that difficult to do that. I mean, I think that's a great idea. That's sort of fairly easy to take action on.
Awesome. So doing that, and Patrick, what that will do is it'll separate you from others. It'll make you somebody that's not putting out just the same type of, finance, insurance stuff that's like very just basic and there's no story behind it, right? So you want to have that inspirational piece. The V is victory mindset oriented. Okay. Most people have heard of growth mindset, which is not bad, but there's a fixed mindset, which is completely negative. There's a growth mindset, which is the middle of the road. And there's a victory mindset, which means, right, Patrick, you're concerned about not just your growth, but everybody you come in contact with, clients, friends, potential clients. As a matter of fact, someone at Microsoft told them about how I kind of came up with victory mindset, and Microsoft is now wanting us to maybe do some work with them around, that victory mindset perspective because they haven't heard of it. But what you're trying to do, Patrick, is make people understand that you are not just about your success, but it's everybody you come into contact with, letting them know that. What are your thoughts on that? Patrick?
I think that's a core. We probably all come across that with, phrased differently. The old, you just because you want to have your candle lit doesn't mean someone else's candle needs to be blown out. You can lift everyone, and I agree. Everybody's two things. First off, what's in it for me? When you can bring value to someone else, they probably want to work with you more. But that goes around. I think that when you are able to maybe the person that you're immediately able to bring value to, you might not exactly see the return from that person, but you might see the return from someone in their network, or someone might also notice the way, hey, if they're treating that person that way and they help them, I have a similar problem. So you kind of attract success, I guess.
You got it. You got it. And we to the O, which is observing, right? So what we got to do, right, Pastor, we have to observe what's happening in our space. We have to observe, what are people seeing? What's going on? What's happening? Why are people acting this way or that way? Again, a lot of people right now are scared because unfortunately the election has a lot of people not wanting to spend money right now or do things. Okay, well, recognize that and say, okay, that doesn't mean that they can't do it. Let's got to find another way to help them want to get it done, right? That's what it comes down to in that regard. Okay, so Pastor, when you think about that, how can you be better at observing what, or putting out content, right? That says to people, wow, I'm observing what's going on, and I know that you might be struggling with this or that, and I'm here to help.
Marcus, to be honest, that one I might have to take away a little bit and give some thought to. I'm not sure.
Sure. And Patrick, that's okay. And what I would tell you to do, Patrick, is I would talk about how you've observed a lot of people being a little bit more conservative or cautious with their spending. Discretionary spending is down, which means you need to really get yourself together and plan and kind of have a good base of a safety net, or trying to grow legacy, wealth in the ways, because again, if people aren't spending, how you go about it, you got to try to find ways to keep your money and then also either make money through investments or people like yourself. So as a person that, has to deal with that, I would tell you, if I saw someone write that, right, Patrick, you're observing what people are going through, that would make me want to work with you, right away. Okay. And the last one is T-tactician, right? And so at this point, it's all about your ability to say, hey, this is what we're doing, and you're executing. And you know what, Pat? What you're really doing, right, Patrick, is you're telling people how you can execute and get them to where they need to be. That makes sense? So tactician is someone that does the strategic plan that they say or said they were going to do. Okay? Any question there?
No,
Okay, very good. So like I said, anything in that regard, you can always come back. Scott, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, my friend. Scott, so we're doing a little bit different. So what are some things that you have had good success with in the last month? And then what are some things or some challenges you're trying to overcome in your business?
I'm a PNC agent, so I sell a lot of home and auto insurance. So, we've kept the momentum going, in the troubling PNC market that we're in. We've been able to grow. Some challenges are, still retaining clients. The company wants a more well-rounded agency. So I've got to get, I still struggle with selling life insurance, commercial insurance. And then I've got a lot of staff changes where one's moved 2 hours away and working from home, part-time, remote. And then I got another one that may be moving when her son goes to college in August, and trying to fill the employee gap and trying to do that while I manage two locations that are 85 miles apart. So there's a lot of challenge. I need 3 Scots, and there's only half of me that is trying to juggle all this.
So would you say a big thing you're having to really work with is leading through change? Would that be something you think you're really trying to really, work on? Because a lot of change in that regard. Okay, give me one moment. I'll pull this up. I just was talking to a client about this earlier today. I think this would be a perfect, for you to kind of hear. Perfect. Okay, so here are a couple tips. Okay, number one, right, Scott? And this works for anybody that's trying to deal with change. Anticipate and prepare for change proactively. So we're talking about it now, you're discussing it, you're getting it out on the forefront. That's a great place to start. Communicate the rationale behind change initiatives. So again, Scott, people who are changing within your organization, express to them why you're not, we'll say concerned, but you're right. You're trying to understand, get them on the same page of like, if they do this, I understand, but what could happen, right? And what's the overall goal that you want to be hit for PNC and for you and for them, right? So everybody has to have that rationale, and you as the leader, right, Scott, can kind of express to them, well, if this happens, understood, but this would need to happen. I need this from you. If you're going to go and do this, I need this from you, right? So make sure they understand the rationale behind what you need as their leader to serve them if they're going to go about making these changes, okay? Empower and involve employees in the change process, right? As you're talking to your people that you're leading, that may change or do different things, have discussions with them around trying to empower them to have real dialogue with you around what it is that they really need in order to do their job and what you need from them in order to make sure that their job gets done in a really strong way. Okay, so here's some action steps, right? You can conduct change readiness assessments, create something and make sure that they are filling it out or aware of it or having discussion around it. Everything in that regard works well. Okay. Develop change management plans with clear objectives. Be as clear and as concise as you can around what you need to get done and what the objectives are if the change happens on their side, and what you need from them if it does. Make sense, Scott?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the third thing is provide training and support for employees during the transition. So if somebody needs something from you, they need to tell you ahead of time. Because again, like you said, right, Scott, leaders who are like yourself, who are very empathetic, who strive to do all they can, the worst thing that can happen you could do to us is not tell us what you need until like the last minute. Because then at that point, it's like we're in a fire call, and that's what happens to you sometimes. I say, well, if this happens or that happens, so you start thinking about, well, if I do this or I don't do this or I do that or I don't do that, what happens next, right? So it has to be a full gamut of you understanding that they have to tell you what they need so you can get it for them and it's not a fire call. So the takeaways are, right, Scott? Change is inevitable. Adaptability is essential, okay? So the more you're able to adapt and they can adapt as well on both sides, it's a lot better to lead through change. Transparent communication fosters acceptance. When people know what it is and how it is, it's a lot easier to foster that type of new environment. Then involving employees instills ownership and commitment. And I think that's the big one right there, right, Scott, is that you want your people to feel ownership in what they do. And a big part of that is involving them in what's going on, like you're doing, but make sure that you're having a lot more dialogue around what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. Make sense?
It does.
Okay. So again, on the other side, the insurance. So talk to me a little bit more about retaining clients. Are you losing clients? Like what's happening there? Like what's going on in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, there's just been a lot of rate disruption in the home and auto, primarily home. I live in Arkansas. Mother Nature likes to blow trees down on houses and dump hailstones on roofs, and it's driven the cost of insurance up. And people, I used to take things very personal that it was a rejection of me when clients would leave. And my dad ran a multi-million-dollar company. He said, Scott, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting the product. He said, and insurance is thanks to the Geicos and the Progressives, people, it's becoming like a commodity, kind of like going to the store and buying a bottle of water. Which bottle of water you want to buy, but it's really not that. So we've got to get better at getting in front of people to explain some of these changes, find solutions for them rather than just avoiding the problem and hoping that they stick with us and don't just call us someday and say, "Hey, we're leaving."
You know what, Scott, let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to really help you in this area? If you were to think about it, because I'm a guy, like, I don't know, take me for example, right? Like, what do you think? I have auto, I have home insurance, all this stuff, right? And I've seen, and my company, State Farm, like, they're not cheap, right? They raise rates, things like that, right? But what is it, Scott, that you feel is the missing link between why people are leaving and not staying?
Is price.
Price is going to be part of it, yeah.
I think some of it goes back to what you were saying earlier about, people are gun shy and, they're, oh, what was the word you used? That their extra spending is going down, and I've heard my staff talk about, the economy being bad and this and that. And I'm like, we got to change, our job is messaging, and however we message this stuff is how successful we're going to be. We can't talk about the economy being bad. Everybody's going through it.
Everybody's going through it.
Yeah.
Everybody. So, Scott, let me give you a piece of advice as a guy. We could talk more about this offline, right? You want to create a relationship where people feel that you are vulnerable and connect to them, right? So be vulnerable. Hey, this is what's happening. The prices are going up, and we can't control that. But what I can control is being there for you if you have a question or if you have something that you need, right? Cheaper doesn't mean better, right? I literally, State Farm is, it's not cheap. I probably pay like $170 for my car. I have a nice car, but I pay like $100 a month for car insurance, right? I pay like, I forget what it is for home insurance, right? But I know if I have a problem, State Farm will get on the phone with me and address it, right? And will be there for me, right? Cheaper does not mean better, right? Especially in insurance, because how many times people go with a cheap insurance, right, Scott? Something happens, boom, you can't get anybody on the phone. You can't get anybody to call you back. You're sitting there like with that automated AI, like, oh, we're busy, and and nothing happens, right? So what people need, right? They need you. And here's something to say, right? I have a saying. Write this down, everybody. Authenticity creates victory. Okay? All you guys have Apple or Android phones, it doesn't matter. Everybody pull their phone out real quick, okay? Just pull your phone up and go to your app store, okay? And type in my name, Marques Ogden, okay? At the app store. Thank you, Jennifer. Yep. Type in Marques Ogden. It's a free app. We have everybody's kind of show you that it's like it says speaker, just follow it, download it, subscribe, whatever. And there's a ton of content around this because so many people are losing clients and they're just afraid to have conversations because they think price is it. Well, price is part of it, but if I know that you're going to be there for me when something hits, I'll pay a higher price all day long. All day long.
So how do you change the mindset of the people that, all they're hearing in the chatter box on Facebook, everywhere they turn, oh, everything's doom and gloom, it's bad, da 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 da. And we're sitting here trying to say, okay, yes, it is, but stick with us because we'll be there in the need. And they're like, well, I hadn't filed an insurance claim in 30 years. I got to save money right now.
And that's a great question. What you need to do is it's called the ox cart technique. Okay. I'm actually reading this book right now. It's awesome. Okay. By Terry Fossum. I actually interviewed him on our podcast, right? Listen to this, guys. And this is so important. Emotion, not knowledge, drives action. Emotion, not knowledge, drives action. You have to, again, you said, okay, I haven't filed in 30 years, all that, got it, right? But here's the thing, right? Touch the emotional side. Well, what if you do have to file one? What if the day that comes that you file a claim, like you said, a hurricane? I mean, like I have clients that are in Houston, people got their homes destroyed, no power, things flooded, right? And I know people that have said, man, I screwed up. I went with something cheaper and now I am screwed.
Incorrect. Yeah.
I know so many people like that. So these are the emotional stories that they need to hear, right? Again, it's not makeup, it's not make believe, it's real life, but people have to be prepared for the what if.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not dropping to a cheaper car insurance, because if something happens to my car, I don't want some rinky-dink car insurance place that I can't, okay, so I'm paying $160 a month, right? So let's say somebody's going to charge me, I don't know, $100 a month, right? So I save $700 for the year. But if I get into an accident, or worse, if somebody hits me, it's not my fault. I don't want to be going through some, BS insurance place, because I can't get what I need, right? And this goes back to giving people the stories, right, of what happens bad, but then giving them your stories of what happens and then the good side of it.
Right.
People, I'm telling you, people move off emotion.
Good point.
They move off emotion, right? People don't move off of knowledge, right? Because again, perfect example, right? This is a great, it's about like knowing, great quote, write this down, okay? Discipline is the bridge between where you are, where you want to be. Abraham Lincoln.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Do you all know that Abraham Lincoln was pretty sure we were going to lose the Civil War? Jennifer, you know about it?
Yeah, he was hugely depressed about it.
Tell me, what do you know about it? I'd love to hear it. Tell me what you know about it. And yes, he was extremely depressed about it, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, all I know is that he was buoyed by his advisors and his family to continue on and write the speech and do the things.
There, Jennifer, boom, there it is. The Gettysburg Address saved the Civil War for the Union. And you know what's crazy, Jennifer, Scott, Donald, and Patrick and Emily? Literally, Mary Todd tried to get him to not go because their youngest son was sick with typhoid fever. His other son had died a year before that. But Lincoln knew that if he didn't go to Gettysburg to deliver the address, he knew that Robert E. Lee was a good enough general to break the line, and it was going to be over. Done. And he said, and this is right, so Lincoln did what he had to do for the future of the Union and his preservation of the legacy of what he wanted us to be. Just like you all have to create for people that image of what they need to get to their Gettysburg Address, to their winning the Civil War, to their point of whatever the heck it is that they're wanting, right, Scott? Like, nobody wants to have a damaged home that they can't get things fixed. Nobody wants to, Patrick, like not have enough money to, pay the bills or create a legacy, right? People don't want to not have the ability to move forward in their life. They don't want that. So like Lincoln, he sacrificed what he knew was best for the future of him and the Union, just like you got to get people to see it's best for their future, not just the now. Because insurance, it's like you're rolling the dice. You don't know if you're going to need it or not, but it's just like It's just like, I don't know anything. Like, you come up with something and something happens and you don't have it. People are like, oh, I don't want to get medical insurance. Okay. Next thing you know, you get hit by a car. You got to go to the hospital. You don't have insurance. What happens? Can't get stuff done. Right? So cheaper does not mean better. But Scott, we have to get them to move off emotion. And once we get them to understand knowledge is one thing, but emotion drives the action, that's when things start to happen for everybody.
Yeah, I always tell everybody, said, you never know what kind of insurance you have till you have to use it, and then you hope like heck you bought what you thought you bought, and or your agent will take care of the situation for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when the people call and say, I mean, I just talked to one last night that she wants to come back. She left, and she's like, gosh, I hate where I'm at. Can I come back? But they've had a couple claims, and I'm like, well, now we got to wait and get your record cleaned up before you
Yeah.
come back. So,
see, and
yeah.
hey, Scott, that's an awesome story to share.
Yeah.
Because again, you can say, oh, I need to head this is cheaper, da 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 da. That don't mean anything. Like cheaper doesn't mean better. You know what I mean? It's like, my ex was like, I'm divorced. That's like, why'd you buy this car and this, that? And it's like, well, in my work, I love what I do. I've been blessed to do very well, but also I wanted something for me that was a statement piece to show people that I'm actually living what I say. And that's part of it too. Like people need to understand, right, Scott? So talk about how people who have gone through things like, well, I'm going to move. Okay. And you move, stuff happens. What happens then? Well, can I come back? Yeah, but it's going to take, and also too, right, when you come back, it's going to be a whole lot more pricey.
For sure.
For sure. It's going to be a whole lot more pricey because that's just the nature of the beast. So these type of stories, right, Scott, they move people, right? And again, I'll go with it. Aristotle said 5 things are going to get people to work with you, right? Number 1 is your character, right? If people know your character and your reputation is strong, they're with you all day long. Okay? The next thing Aristotle said, okay, was emotion. Not emotional, emotion. Aristotle said people don't feel you're sincere about what you are doing or selling or trying to provide them, they'll figure out it's just about the money. Right? Do you agree with that, Jennifer?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So we got to provide the emotion in what we're doing. Okay. The third thing is going to be a reason. People need a reason to work with you. Emily and Suzanne and Brendan and Charlene, like they like me. I'm a nice guy, but there's a reason why they hire me. They work with me, right? If I'm just a guy, it's like, hey, how are you guys? Let's talk some football. Let's talk. They'd be like, yeah, Marques, this is great, but no, this is not, I'm saying, like, nah, we're good. And that's why people, right, Scott, Pastor Jennifer, nobody hired me for the first 2.5 years of my speaking career because I brought absolutely zero value to the table. Zero. None. I was just, hey, hear about my football career, my business loss, and hey, I'm like telling you all, right, Scott? The emotion. You all are all super bright people, but just because you're super bright doesn't mean we can't think of everything. But I'm telling you right now, right? That story, Scott, like somebody that left you and wants to come back. I mean, that's a powerful story in itself. Okay. And the fourth thing Aristotle said is metaphors. He said, tell people stories to get them to think about their life. I saw a great documentary on Sly, Sylvester Stallone, and he talked about how, he created Expendables because he went to see like an old band play, and it was a bunch of old school guys from like the 60s, the 70s, 80s. He's like, man, I could do an action movie with people from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. What do you get? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dolph Lundgren, Jason Statham, Terry Crews. I mean, all these, he went to get, you got 50 Cent and all that. He literally followed the story of what he saw on stage, and he's the only actor with 3 successful continuous movies. So Rocky, there were 6 Rockies that he was in. There were 5 Rambos, and there were 4 Expendables. People love stories. Sly said he made a fortune just off putting himself into the stories of, he knew other people that didn't want to step out and share their story. So he went to them and shared their story for them. And the 5th thing is be concise. People don't have time to waste. None. Right? So again, what you all are seeing right now is you're seeing the ability to kind of help yourself get to that next level. And so it's really important in that regard, right? Scott, any other questions when it comes to, another thing you talked about is about, like different places. It's important, Scott, that you continue to find, do you have a good person at each location that you can kind of like lean on for, information, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So how are you working with that person to really master innovation, creativity, and really kind of, have everything going full circle?
Well, we just, sit down and have talks about what's going on, what we can do to improve, what help's needed, talk about what I see, where I see us going, what I want to see us do, and things like that.
So here's some things. Oh, by the way, so this is awesome, right? So we'll come back to that in a moment, Scott. That's off. Is Donald, are you here? His camera's off. I don't know if he's here or not. Hey, how are you, Donald?
I'm good.
Good, good. So Donald, before we get to that part, what's going on with you, my friend? Like, share something good that's happening, and what's something a challenge you're trying to overcome?
One of the great things that's happening with me is that I am on par for an MDRT, $1 Million Roundtable, as far as production requirement. And still, the challenge is getting in front of more people. Now, typically in June and July, it's a slow time for me.
Correct.
But, however, a lot of my businesses consists of networking and referrals. So it does come. I do work in the market where I'm helping people with investments, insurance planning, so securities, life, disability, long-term care. But the challenge is getting in front of people.
So Donald, what are you doing right now to get in front of people? Like, what are you trying to do in that regard?
Doing more networking during this time period, like the last 4 weeks and the 4 weeks going forward, to try and get more business in August, September, and October.
Let's talk about that. That's a great point. Everybody, we're going to get into now. This is part of the content, Donald. It's a great segue. Strategic networking to grow your circle of influence. Tip number 1, build genuine relationships based on mutual trust and respect. It's all about our ability for people to understand what it is that we're trying to do to help them. It's not about you, Donald, or me, or Scott, or it's all about who we're talking to. So that's a big factor, okay? Second thing, this is something, Donald, you can really put into your work. Identify key stakeholders and influencers in your industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing that right now as we speak. A good friend of mine, who, by the way, if you guys don't subscribe, you should subscribe to our podcast. It's called Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. We're in the top a 0.5% most popular worldwide. And one of my new business partners, Mr. Nick Hunt, who is listened to my show for about a year. We're now friends and we connect, right, Donald? Nick is an influencer in the property casualty insurance space. Doesn't do what you all do, like he does, like, helping people to, like, get protection on different equipment, things like that, right? He got me to another guy named Ryan, that's a huge influencer. I did both their podcasts. And then Ryan got me to the board for a job called ITC Tech Connect in Vegas that I'm speaking for in October. I was just on a podcast 2 days ago, Donald and everybody, with a guy named David, who's another top influencer in that space. And then he just shipped me off to a guy named Josh, who I spoke to this morning. And Josh said, oh, by the way, Marcus, I'm going to get you in front of Keystone because they're a large buy group and they can use speakers, and that's great. And I have another guy I'm talking to named Marques tomorrow. And all of that came from one influencer, right, Donald? Nick. So finding influencers they will say, man, Don, I love what you're doing. Scott, that's great. Jennifer, awesome. Patrick, yes. They're going to ship you all to other influencers. So because of one awesome guy, Nick Hunt, our brand is now getting spread throughout a very lucrative, very well-respected industry of property casualty insurance producers.
Nice.
It only takes one, Donald. Only takes one. Right? And again, that's what we talked about. Like, it's content, right, Patrick? It's content. Mick loves our podcast. A lot of people do. Actually, I got a cute review right yesterday, right, Emily? A girl named Valerie said, I binge on this podcast, and it's one of the few that me and my husband agree we both like. Okay, like we're bringing people together. I love it. So, but again, it's another form, right? And then offer value to others before seeking favors. When I met Mick, took him to lunch. I invited Mick on our podcast. And from there, I went on his podcast. Then he sent me to Ryan. I had Ryan on my podcast. I was on Ryan's podcast. David, I was on David's podcast Monday. I'm having him on my podcast. I'm booking him on there tomorrow to do an episode later this month, right? Josh, the guy that got me from the Keystone, I'm sending Josh a signed football. He loves sports. My client, Ryan, has 2 boys. They're all Bills fans. All 3 of them got footballs from me mailed to their house.
Nice.
Right? It's the value, right, Don? I mean, because like networking is really not easy these days. People aren't doing as many live events as they used to. What we got to do, we got to come up with another plan. So again, you got to find those influencers, give them value, and then let them ship you off to their network. And that's when things happen, right? So action steps. Attend industry events and conferences to meet new contacts when possible. You can find that. Schedule one-on-one meetings to have a deeper connection. So for example, I was on David's podcast. We have a phone call tomorrow. Met Josh through, I was tagged. So David tagged me in something with Josh and Marcus. Spoke to Josh this morning. Check. Have a call with Marcus tomorrow. Check. Right? It's going to keep moving down the line, right? And then follow up with personalized messages or gestures. Football to Ryan and his kids. Football to Josh, right? Mick take to lunch when he's in town. David, come on my podcast and get him some stuff, right? We got to follow it up with those personalized messages or those personalized gestures. It will move mountains. And then takeaways. Networking expands opportunities and insights. The more we have people in our network, the more insight we can get into what works and what doesn't work. Okay? Reciprocity strengthens professional relationships. Like I said, Everybody who's been on my podcast, I've been on theirs. Any sports fans, they're getting something from me, right? People that I've met, offer value, keep it moving. NAIFA, same thing. I've done free jobs for NAIFA. They've paid me to come speak on stage, right? It's all about, these things I do for NAIFA now, it's about you all, right? NAIFA is a great client of mine, so I always put clients like that at the top. So it's reciprocity, right? And then from there, authenticity fosters lasting connections. And that's why I want you all to listen to our podcast, Get Authentic, because it's all about authentic people having authentic conversations.
It's excellent. If anyone hasn't been there yet, it's excellent.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. And we're so fortunate that people love to come on and just share their stories, right? And so again, Donald, Donald, any questions now? There's some different, ways you can approach it. Different types of things you can do, right? You want to really, Donald, find those influencers because they can really fast track you to their network. And here's the thing, right, Donald? When they fast track you, the credibility factor is already high. You don't have to, quote unquote, sell yourself.
Right. It's more dealing with the centers of influence, as well as the CPAs, the attorneys, and other business people, but also your key clients that you've had over the years.
Yes, because now, and think about this, right? Innovation and creativity, okay? Innovation drives competitive advantage for growth. Like you said, the CPAs, the lawyers, the whomever, right? Those people are always innovative and trying to be out in front of things, new software, new technology, get things for them moving forward, right? Failure fuels learning and improvement, right? I failed many times. Great quote by Denzel Washington. If you haven't failed, you haven't tried hard enough. Everybody's like, oh my God, Gladiator 2, is it going to be any good? I said, I don't know if it's going to be any good, but if it's got Denzel, I'm in the theaters. I'm there. Right. Like, he's my favorite actor. Like, as soon as if I see Denzel, boom, I'm gone. Right? But he says, failure, if you haven't failed, you haven't tried hard enough. And the third, creativity sparks breakthrough solutions. That's why going forward in our talks, I will always have content ready, but the discussions around, Patrick, how you can pivot and find more people through your LinkedIn. Jennifer, how you can be creative and find more people, the women in their spaces, and collaborate. Scott, you figuring out how to really position yourself and get more connectivity with your employees that are moving around, and find ways to build relationships with people that are, in your office in different places. And you, Donald, how to just lean on those influencers because they will take you to where you want to go. And that's everything. Okay? If anybody has any questions, I'm going to put my email in the email and in the chat, and I'll put my cell phone there as well.
That's very straightforward.
Yep. I know. Any questions, anybody? Again, this was fantastic. Emily, any questions from you, comments? And Emily, I will email this over. Emily, what's your email?
Just ecabbage@naifa.org. Pretty easy.
Okay, ecabbage@naifa.org.
Yep.
Marcus, sometime I'd like to get your, I've been a NAIFA member for, 7-8 years, but I was never involved in the local stuff. And, there's a lot of, as we're trying to grow NAIFA and retain NAIFA members, you hear a lot of, well, they don't like, there's a lot of old stuff you got to get rid of and get past. And I'd like to take your, this is great for growing my business, but sometimes I'd like to get your take on how to grow NAIFA, like in the state of Arkansas, and get through some of the hurdles that,
Yeah, man, Scott, text me today. Love to talk. I mean, are you like the chapter president of NAIFA Arkansas, or
I am.
what's your?
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk, man. I mean, Emily knows I do a lot of work for NAIFA and putting on I've done speaking for them. I'm going to be in Phoenix on the 21st of September at the Apex conference. We're
I'll
doing
be
an
there
event.
also.
Yeah, I'll see you there. We're doing an event in Raleigh for NAIFA and here in November. Love to talk to you about doing an event for you in Arkansas. Because actually, my grandmother actually was born in Little Rock.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Born in Little
Perfect.
Rock. She moved to Detroit in the early 30s.
Okay.
So text me and we'll set up a time to talk next week. I love to talk to you about how, because again, people don't know about things like this, and because of that, they're missing out on the connectivity and the value to move forward in their own businesses. So,
Right.
what's your number, Scott? What's your number?
479
Yep.
858
Yep.
1439.
All right. So I got Scott, DOR.
MINY.
Yep. Okay. NAIFA president. Perfect. I'll shoot you a text. Let's set a time to talk next week.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I spent a few years living in Wilson, North Carolina, if you know where that is.
You're not far from me at all. You're about an hour and a half from me in Fuquay. All right, I got you called, and we'll go from there, man. I'll text you this morning, and Emily, I'll see everybody next month.
Yep. Next month we're back to top of the month. 4th of July just kind of caused us a little bump in the road. I didn't think anybody wanted to be here on the 3rd. So
good pivot, Emily. Good pivot. Scott, I'll text you soon. We'll talk next week, Scott.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day, everyone.